Welcome everyone to Academic Talks by the Aspire Youth Club. Today's edition is truly special as it marks the beginning of a fruitful collaboration between the AO Innovation Translation Center and the Aspire Youth Club. We'll be diving into the work of the ITC and exploring how innovation, development pipelines, and translational research shape our daily clinical practice and training. My name is Rajesh Mishkov. I'm a senior resident in neurosurgery at Aarhus University Hospital in Denmark. And with me is Jana Schader, who's a surgeon scientist and orthopedic surgeon at Paul-Christ University Hospital in Zurich, Switzerland.
And we're truly honored to welcome Roland Herzog. He's the executive director of AO-ITC. Welcome, Roland.
Good morning.
It's great to have you here with us today. And to start off, maybe you could tell us something about the AO Innovation Translation Center, what it actually is, and how AO members can use it.
So in the AO value circle, how we call it, we have two main ingredients. The one is knowledge creation and the other is education. And as you can imagine, the Innovation Translation Center is on the side of knowledge creation and then making sure that the knowledge we create is translated further to education and finally to clinical practice. So one of my main important points about the Innovation Translation Center is that everything that we do should find a short way to the clinical practice and create impact by improving patient care. What we do, we have two main pillars, I would say. The one is clinical research. So we support people who want to do clinical research by all the operations that is needed, starting from medical expertise in designing a research study, designing the protocol, to finally operate as CRO, meaning that we handle all the administrative part with ethical committees. We make sure that the statistics are okay. We make sure that all the forms that you need to supply a study anywhere are filled in until in the end writing a report that can be used then as a basis for publications. If we talk about clinical research, again, for us, it's the quality, the scientific quality is a given that has to be on a high level. But the second point, which is really important, that it will be used by the people out in practice. So I'm as happy to have a treatment guideline, which is downloaded like 10,000 times from the journals, and the next day it's used in practice, as having a very new and most innovative clinical study, which then may lay in the drawers for like many years until it's finally used. The second pillar is more on the product side. We have a collaboration with our main industrial partner is J&J MedTech. It will be Debris Synthes soon again. And we support their product development by defining clinical needs with our expert groups. So we have a group of 150 surgeons in 30 groups, separated in different anatomic areas. And they define what is needed to improve patient care in their area and define projects together with J&J and support projects by bringing in ideas and usability, needs for the usability in the hospital, until finally it will be TC approved, which enables the product to be taught in our educational courses. For more risky, more early stage or projects that are out of the scope of J&J, we also have the option to finance our own projects, collaborate either with research groups or with startups to bring innovative projects to a stage where it's finally interesting for investors, so that they can, together with investors, make a product in the end and bring it to the market. What is pretty special about the clinical research, if I may jump back to clinical research, is in the spine area, we have the knowledge forums. The knowledge forums are groups of highly motivated spine surgeons, again, organized in different topics. And they meet twice a year and discuss what are basically the needs in spine surgery to improve patient care. Where do we need more knowledge about treatments, about best gold standards, whatever is needed to improve patient care? And then they do research on these topics, and it's published under the brand of AO Spine, usually often in the Spine Journal of the AO, and through all the channels of the AO. Again, the clinical projects of this group is usually supported by our clinical research organization from an administrative and operative point of view.
Very interesting.
So
Right,
that's how we
interesting.
try to create impact and how to improve patient care through more knowledge and through new, better products.
So there is a lot of support into the development of these research plans, but let's say that now we'd like to examine a bit more before going in. So what would distinguish a feasibility study from a proof of concept or early clinical protocol?
Well, actually, these are probably not regulated terms, so everybody may use it a bit differently. So if you would refer to a clinical study, you may start with a very small, limited number of patients and see if you can do the protocol at all, if it works. If it goes with a product, you may start with lab work, just see if the product works in the lab, do a first prototype, destroy it, give it in the hands of surgeons, and until you are convinced that the product works, or you may even go in a preclinical phase, do some animal testing. So in all these namings, however these phases are called, the important part is that you start small. And fail in productization, we say prototype often and fail early, meaning try to learn or a lot with little money, and then base on these first learnings and do a good solid base, and then from there you may go broader, more expensive, and more ambitious. So yeah, whenever these terms are used in different areas, they might be used a bit different, but I guess the philosophy is always that you want to start small and use little money. And when you then invest more money, you want to have more safety that things work out well.
Okay, so the take-home message from you is to think about the philosophy more than just the terms and not be hindered.
Yeah, it's about the general approach to how to do projects, and many people aim to fail big somehow, and meaning that you try to invest in something, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, but the risk is pretty high. I mean, the outcome might be great if it works well, but there are so many unknowns in the beginning. And if you can reduce the number of unknown factors first, and with step by step, with little money, then your probability of success is much higher once you do the big thing.
Okay. Well, but the thing is that if you want to fail big, then you need to first be allowed to start. So from your perspective, what would be the critical factors that determine whether a project passes the ethical and regulatory threads?
The thing is, this is work with experts, people who did it before. It's all about risk benefit in the end. So you have to make sure that you know the risk that you take. So if it's just an observational study, usually the risk is hardly there because you do what you would do anywhere and you just learn from the data that you can get. If you go interventional or even with new products, of course, the risk is much more significant. So you have to know in much more detail what you are doing and why it's safe and why the risk-benefit ratio should be first the risk that you take.
And normally, how early should the innovators engage with the ethics committees when preparing a project? Should we go very early, or more or less when we have the idea form and it's ready to submit?
I guess there is no general answer to that, but make sure that you have somebody who is used to work with an ethical committee in the team in the beginning, in the team or as an advisor. So don't just try to fill in the forms and try and error and send it there. If you have a contact, if you have a trusted person in an ethical committee, of course, talk to them. If they're approachable, talk to them. That's nice. I guess in most cases, it's not a duty for them to be available for advisors. If they are, then talk to them. Yeah, approach them very early. If not, find other experts to support you in these discussions, or people with experience. But I mean, don't try just yourself in the small room at night to fill in everything, hand it in and hope. But talk to people who did it before or who know what works. Yeah. And I guess in the AO network, there's certainly plenty of people who did it before and you can give advice.
Yeah. Okay, well, it sounds very reasonable to go this way. So yeah, okay. In your experience, what would be some common shortcomings in submissions for these device-related research for innovation studies?
Well, if it's device-related, if it's an approved device with CE and it's an observational study, that's a completely different story than if it's a new device which does not yet have approval. So if it's about a new device or a change device, of course, you need a company basically in the background, usually, who does all the regulatory work for you. Because it's a huge amount of paper needed to prove safety of a new product to finally allow you to go into the clinic, into a patient. If it's a approved product, things are of course much simpler. If you stay within the indication and if it's just an observational study, usually it's not an issue at all because you stay within the indication. There is proof that the product is safe. So nobody could say, well, this is a stupid study. You may just fine-tune things. If it's an approved product, but outside of the indication that is mentioned in the instructions for usage, then again, it's more difficult because then you really have to think about risk-benefit ratio and make sure that all the documentation behind that is well done and that you have all the clinical evaluation there and everything. So that's getting more expert work needed in the background.
Does AO actually also help in patenting or the ITC? If you have a new device?
We have our innovation funding stream. So if somebody has a great idea for a new product, how to treat patients better, he can apply for support by the AO innovation funding stream. And this idea will be evaluated. And if the idea is great, we can support this early stage of an idea until again it's ready for a project and ready for further investment, be partly from the AO, but mainly also from external investors. But the amount of money to bring a product from the idea to a patient is like 7-digit in Swiss francs. So it's not something that is easy going. Investments are huge. It takes a long time. So investors think a lot before they invest. They really evaluate every detail. Think about the market. Think about the risks that are involved with from a feasibility point of view. Think about reimbursement. Think about regulations. So all these points need to be checked before really somebody is going to invest the money needed to get to a regulatory approval.
Maybe
right,
I can jump on this in the meantime, because you mentioned that there's a lot of money involved, and I guess it's also a lot of time from the idea to the final product. How do you see the new medical device regulations? Is it a threat to innovation, and how do you see the future of surgical innovations there?
And I guess I haven't talked to anybody in Europe who was happy about the medical device regulation in Europe. It's a threat, definitely. Challenges to bring new things to the market in Europe are very high. So most of the startups that we are aware of these days, they go first to the US. If you think about somebody investing money in a startup, they want to make sure that things work out. And again, if it doesn't work out, fail early and as cheap as possible. Now, the new medical device regulations, they extend time for regulatory approvals. In many cases, ask for clinical studies for new devices, which is again risky and time consuming and expensive. Whereas in the US, you have very clear guidelines. You have people to talk to in the FDA. You can discuss what you want to do. Does it make sense? What they will need for an approval? So you will have a very clear plan, dedicated resources and time needs, and then you can decide, is it worth paying to do it? Whereas in Europe, you have a very vague idea what they finally want to see from your side. You don't, in many cases, you don't have a clear partner to discuss if your plan makes sense. Time schedule is much less clear in the beginning. So the risk will be diminished in a much later stage, and you will have to invest more money until there. At the same time, the European market is less attractive than the US market. So prices are lower. You have many less reimbursement. You have the different market. So in the US, you have one big market with good prices and a clear regulatory pathway. So for a young company, it's much more attractive to go there. Not only for young companies, but also for existing products in the market. It's a challenge sometimes to take the hurdle of MDR, CE MDR marking, because they may need, even if it's on the market for many years, still need clinical data, which is expensive and difficult to gather for the companies. So they say we rather take it from the market than, despite the fact that it was used successfully for 20 years.
So you can see this is complex for especially young career researchers. Do you have advice for them also in launching such a project? And is maybe the AO-ITC Clinical Research Fellowship possibility for them to understand all those difficult regulations and also get access to those experts you mentioned earlier? Because maybe it's even hard for someone from Europe to get access to this maybe easier market in the US.
So if the goal is to have a new product on the market, the surgeon with a good idea has to, again, find expert partners as soon as possible. What is feasible? Number one, so find some people who are with you, hopefully with some experience in the medical device field. So as I said before, we'll get some first feedback from the ITC if you apply for the innovation funding. And if you then like to talk to people, they are always open also to talk to you and tell you about what the reasons were and what the risks may be. So there are some experts. You may have some startup companies in your field, in your area that you can talk to, or the university may have a department which supports translation. What we frequently see in applications is that the applicants did not check what is already in the market. So how this clinical problem is solved today, and did not check patent landscape at all. So both of these areas can be tricky to do properly, but especially with some research on the market, what is already available out there, you can save a lot of time and energy because in many cases ideas were there like a few years ago, many years ago, and failed already, or are available for a very small start from a very small startup company, but you can see they have problems to grow. And there's always a reason why a product which was already known, maybe an idea why it is not in a big company. Usually it's because they don't see the market potential for it, or because the investments until a product reaches the market are pretty high. People have to be really sure that they will bring in the money in the end. So with some internet research on available solutions, that can help a lot to either fine-tune your idea or learn early on that somebody else tried it before, and either you learn about why it failed, you can do it better, or you say, okay, probably it's the same story again. There are public patent databases. If it's more like a mechanical product, the search is not too difficult in the end. If you invest like a few hours or a day too, that's pretty easy to recognize. It's more biological fields. Things are getting more complex because these patents are very long and very complex. So, but it's really good to do first a bit of research. How is the clinical problem that you want to solve? How it is solved today? What are the weaknesses of today's solution? Maybe not only of the company you work already with, but also of other companies around the world. And then think, is my solution really better? My proposal, and then talk to people in your environment if they think it's worthwhile to go on. A big question is always during this phase is, what is the right point in time to file a patent? Now, first, of course, you want to be sure that you're protected if you talk to people. So you can talk openly to anybody if you have a patent that protects your idea. But the second thing is, in many cases, during development of a product, the product evolves. You change designs and whatever, and the final product will no longer be covered by the first patent. Whereas the first patent might be an obstacle to file a better patent later. So generally we say, if it's possible, we try to file a patent later in the development when we really know, when you did all the painful learnings during the development phase, testing phase, and then finally, if you have a product that you know it works and is can also be manufactured, fabricated at a reasonable price, then file a patent that really protects the product. So it's a discussion. Many ways are possible that this discussion has to be done early.
Okay, yeah, very interesting, very insightful. I mean, I guess a lot of researchers, like surgeons at our stage, maybe don't know about all of this. So can you tell us more about the clinical research fellowship? Is there, like, who is eligible, and is it even, I mean, we're from spine, is it even open to all the clinical divisions? And how do you recommend it to have, like, be a surgeon and engage also in these research opportunities AO is offering?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you like clinical research, you're a surgeon, you're in a great position to do great stuff. And a great way to learn how to do it is a clinical research fellowship in the AO. So if you find the time to do it and you like clinical research, do your application and try to get it there. Requirements are, you have to be a member of the AO, you have to be a medical doctor, of course, maybe have some first experience in clinical investigation, and you want to dedicate some of your time in clinical research, and it will help you to develop a sound clinical study protocols, you know, all about all the administration, learn about what is important in the quality of the protocol, coach you on these ethical questions, give you an introduction to statistics. Again, learn about how to discuss with statisticians, about literature reviews, and support also in presenting your data then to other people. So clinical research fellowships are certainly a really good thing to support your career in clinical research.
Oh, thank you. This is very interesting. And from taking the idea into real life, that's one thing. But we know in statistics that there is strength in numbers. So when you think about the international network that AO has, how do you see its potential as an opportunity for multi-center clinical studies, and what might the future bring in this area?
Yeah, actually, we see that as one of the main differentiating points also for our clinical research organization, that they are used to run international multi-center studies. And one of the big discussions is always that new devices or new methods are not validated in different ethnies, different or gender, different genders and whatever, so that the testing group was maybe just a small part out of the world. And of course, multi-center international studies offer an opportunity to get a broader basis of data to really prove a hypothesis or to really make sure that the product works. Actually, if you think about usage of data for training of AI solutions, one of the requirements of FDA is that the training of the data of the algorithm is done with data that considers all this diverse patients or persons. Yeah. So we are used to do it. The question, of course, if you think about multi-center clinical studies, that's always have a higher price point in the end. But if there is funding for it, be it through the AO or be it through any other funding agency, that's of course a great thing to do.
Very interesting. And I mean, then we also have the knowledge forums. It's fine. So we will also talk a bit more in the upcoming webinars. And but so we could also probably join one of the knowledge forums, I guess, and then engage there in clinical studies. Is that possible? Do you know?
Yes, there's kind of a waiting list, I understand. It's a very attractive forum. So many surgeons would like to participate there. But yes, it's a great opportunity. Talk to people, talk to the guys that you know who are in there, who are the chairs, and see if you can manage to participate in these knowledge forums. Nevertheless,
Sounds
also
something
like the Global Spine Congress, if you do research in spine, is an option to first present your data, but second also to meet like probably the most international audience that you can imagine in spine surgery, and all the experts from around the world are there.
Brilliant. And yes, these are thoughts we'll take with us. And as Jana said, we'll be exploring this more in the upcoming talks. So yeah, we have something prepared for next week, actually, with the Spinal Cord Injury Forum. So it's good.
Great. Yeah, these are really, they're great guys doing great work there. And I think it's a great idea how to do it, how to collaborate, how to find the best possible protocols, how to invest the money finally to do clinical research, to have a great outcome of this clinical research. As I said in the beginning, the goal is to create impact, not just papers that collect dust on the internet somewhere, but things that are used in clinical practice finally.
We are in complete agreement with you here. Perfect. Well, just thank you very much for sharing your insights and giving us a clear view into how innovation moves from an idea to clinical practice within the ecosystem of AO. So we truly appreciate your time and your commitment to supporting us, the young surgeons and our researchers. And for everything that you do. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you at the next Academic Talks session. So stay tuned for the next one.
Many thanks to you. It's great that you support these initiatives and drive AOUs in Spine. So it's great to see that things go on, and there will be life after me in Spine.